Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about security for your website. Now, domain security, which is basically your domain is your website address. Security is probably one of the easiest ways to increase your rankings in Google. Why? Because most business owners haven't figured this out yet. They have no idea. No idea whatsoever that Google is massively penalizing sites that do not have what's called HTTPS, a secure site certificate. So rather than go into a technical definition of what this means and what it's all about, it really doesn't matter. What's important is that you know HTTP is not secure, with the S stands for secure. So we want to have our website secure and we will instantly jump in Google rankings. Sound good? It's pretty much the best, easiest website hack ever. So let's jump over. I'm going to show you how to do it if you're using SiteGround. And if you are not, I'm going to show you how to use it if you're using Squarespace or Wix. If you're using a different web host, it's going to be very, very similar. You're just going to have to look up your own tutorial for that. So SiteGround is as simple as logging in. You head over to where it says extra services. SSL certificate is what we want. That is the HTTPS, and we're going to hit get. From there, we go ahead and we can choose our HSL certificate. We can either add a paid one or just select the freed one. I already have mine installed, so that is why these other options are coming up. You select your domain and then you hit apply. It's literally as easy as that. Now with Squarespace, we are simply going to go over to our security preferences, and it's going to by default say that your website is insecure. All you have to do is go up to where it says secure and just check that. And then just check this little guy, and all of a sudden, 72 hours later, you will find your website has HTTPS. Okay? And lastly, if you are using Wix, it's a very similar process. You're going to go to settings in your site's dashboard, scroll down, click manage, and just turn that bad boy on. So in all three of these, HTTPS is free. If you're using something like GoDaddy or HostGator, you're going to have to pay extra for it. It can be anywhere from $20 to $40 per year. It is well worth it because you are going to rank better by simply applying this. So make sure you have HTTPS applied and enabled on your website before you continue, and you will see your rankings go up. Now, one thing that I should mention before you go ahead and get confused is there are different types of SSL. SSL is this little secure thing right here, right? And so you don't have to worry about what these are. Really, there are different levels. Some are more secure than others. If you have a big e-commerce store, you might want to have a specific type over another specific type. But if you have just a small business, all you need to make sure is that you have this little S after your HTTP. You don't need to worry about paying for extra services or getting any fancy certificate. You just need any type of certificate that gives you SSL. Sweet deal. Now go out and apply it, and I will see you in the next video. All right, we have one last big optimization that we need to set up before we move on into our next module, and that is our analytics and getting indexed. So analytics is essentially the stats on our website, and so we want to install Google Analytics, which will show us which pages are being viewed the most, how many people are visiting our websites, when they're visiting them, and this is really, really powerful because it lets us see what is most popular, what the content is that people are actually engaging with on our site. It also helps with your SEO because Google is then looking at your site that much closer, which is always a good thing. And that goes hand in hand with getting indexed. Now, indexing is essentially an SEO term for making a map of your website. So Google, Bing, Yahoo, all of these search providers have to find all the websites on the internet. Imagine that job. There are billions and billions of websites to go through. And so they go through these websites and they make what's called an index, a map of all of the posts, the pages, the links, everything involved, so that then they can link to and show those results in their searches. So getting indexed is basically the process of Google finding your site, crawling it with their little code, and then they look at every page, they put together a little map, and bada bing, bada boom, you have been indexed. Now, this happens over time when Google sees your website and they'll make a map. However, you can speed up the process by submitting your index to Google, and you can also correct the process because sometimes these programs might go through and see all the links on your homepage, but let's say that you have a link on your website that is not listed on your homepage. Well, that's where your index will come in handy and let Google know, oh, I have another post over here. Great. Makes sense? So we are going to go through and I'm just going to show you how I would set up analytics inside of WordPress. And then we're going to show you how to set up Google Search Console. And we will start with analytics. Our first step is going to be creating a basic Google Analytics account. So we're just going to type Google Analytics into Google, go figure, and click on there. And from here, it'll probably sign me in because I've already have an account, but all I would do is go add an account. And you'll see something like this. So you'll set up your account. If you don't have a Gmail address, they will make you make one. And after that, you have that account. We will install it into and connect it to our website. So go to plugins and you're going to search for analytics. And from there, you can select one of these plugins. All they're going to do is connect to your Google Analytics account, which will then show you your data right on your back end of your website, which is really, really handy. So for instance, I would grab Google Analytics here. It's going to install. Perfect. We will activate it. And shabing shaboom, when we go to our dashboard, it should now be showing up. If I can locate it here. So we've got our analytics dashboard. They can only be seen after you authenticate with your Google account on the settings page. So we're going to go to the settings here. And then we're going to enter our little code that Google gives us. So what we have to do is sign in to our website. So if you have a Google account, you can do that. If not, you have to create one. And then you're going to just copy this little code here into your access code. Hit Save Changes. And this is basically going to insert this tiny little code into your website, which will then verify that you own this particular website. So Google says, okay, I'll give you the permission to see our stats for this. Great. So now that that is done, I can simply save. Go back to my dashboard here. And you can see I now have access to my analytics here. So I can go through, select page views, visits, organic search, bounce rate. I can even see which pages are the most popular and go through from there. So now if this particular tutorial doesn't apply to you, you're using Squarespace, Wix, or perhaps things have been updated or changed since I did this tutorial, don't worry about it. Simply go to YouTube or Google and search for how to install analytics in your particular platform, and you will find a way. Trust me, it's actually pretty easy. Now, the next thing that we need to worry about once we have analytics set up is getting indexed. So this is a pretty simple process. It's very similar. And we're going to go over to Google Search Console. So this is brand new. It used to be Google Webmaster Tools. Now it's called Google Search Console. And so I actually have to initiate mine. So I actually right now need to go over to my account. And it's automatically detecting that I already had this previously. But you could just enter your website right there. And now you see we've got this HTML file. So we are going to go down to where it says HTML tag. Grab this, and this is if you are using Yoast or a similar service. All I have to do is go over to where it says SEO, and I've already pulled that up here to save some time. And right here, I'm going to just paste where it says Google verification code. And Yoast is going to do all the hard work for me, insert that little tag into the code of my website. And shabing, I should be able to just press verify. And sweet deal. We now have our website in Google Search Console, which is sweet because it's going to show us more data, and data is always good. But what's important about this is that Google Search Tool allows us to submit our sitemaps. So all I'm going to do if I'm using Yoast, I've already looked up our little thing here. We just need to enter sitemap underscore index.xml. I'm going to go back here and do the sitemaps and just enter that right there, hit submit. Schwabing, Google will periodically process it and look for changes to the site since the last time that they indexed it. And now that that's done, I just have to sit back and wait. Google has the map of my site. They will verify, and I'm one step closer to ranking. Now, one thing that you can do after this, Google is the most important of them all, but you can go ahead and move to the other webmaster tools and set those up as well. So it's the exact same process, especially if you're using Yoast. I just showed you how. But all you're going to do is do the same thing with Bing. Same thing with Yandex, whatever that is. It's a major webmaster and other search engines. So you can set that up and get indexed in all of those little sites. I'm going to let you go ahead and search for specific tutorials for whatever web platform you're using rather than taking up your time doing it here. But that is essentially what we're going to do here. We've got analytics, we've gotten indexed, and now we can move on to creating more great content and other SEO strategies. Let's do it.
Hey, Phil here with a quick little case study, sort of helpful tip for you. One of the things things that Ryan mentioned earlier in this section was the idea of resharing existing content to get the most out of it. If you just post your blog, a new blog post once on your website, you share it out once when you launch it to all of your followers on social media or your email list, that's great, but there's going to be a lot of missed potential by not sharing that in the future. So there's a couple of things that I've done with my website to make sure that my older content is still getting traffic and that therefore starts to rank higher and helps people find my website. One tool that I use is called recurpost.com. What this does is it will automatically share content that you provide on a regular schedule to your social media. It's free to start out. You can hook up multiple profiles and have a certain amount of content that you actually create or upload to RecurPost to share completely free. So let me sign into my account. All right, so here we can see if we look at a history of posts, you can see the types of content that is being posted. So here I have a blog article about getting a job in the film industry. Here is a YouTube tutorial for Premiere Pro. Here's another blog article about photography, another that includes a video. Here's a blog article that's just an article itself. And so these are all posted in the past week automatically to different Facebook profiles, pages, or groups. The way it basically works is you create your content library. So here I've created multiple different categories of content. So for example, here's my photography basics. I went through my website, I found all of my best blog articles and created posts regarding those different articles. So I used a template, but pretty simple. And it'll bring in the image and everything like that. And here's another example here. Let's do video production. These are also articles and videos that are on my website. Then what you do is you create your schedule. And here you go. Here's my schedule. So here you can see my calendar. On Mondays, a video production article will be shared on my Facebook and LinkedIn. On Tuesdays, a photography tip to my photography group on Facebook. On Wednesday, a photography video on Facebook and LinkedIn again. On Thursday, a photography tip on my other page and LinkedIn, and also a photography video in my photography group. And on Friday, a Premiere Pro tutorial on Facebook and LinkedIn. Now you can add more content, you could create more schedules. The cool thing is that it automatically will send out content and it won't duplicate the content until all of it is exhausted. So for example, I have my content library with 25 posts in video production. It probably took me about 2 hours to put together all of these posts, but now I have enough content for 25 weeks worth of posts. And by the time 25 weeks go by, repeating this content again is completely fine. That's 6 months later. Someone who's following me might see that post again, but in general, you're going to have a lot more new followers who have never seen this content before, who have never been to my website potentially and seen this content, and now they are going to be able to see this content refreshed, building up that traffic, increasing that ranking, and helping more people find my website. So definitely check out recurpost.com. The other thing that I've recently done is, because Ryan did mention a lot about creating new content. And for over 5 years, I created new content every single week that I posted as an article on my website. This year, I decided to shift my focus into promoting my old content on my website and really building up the traffic to that existing content, because I felt that my website wasn't getting enough traffic and enough engagement for my existing content out there. So what I did was, before I had just one link up at the top that said blog articles, and it had all of my latest blog articles with my most recent ones up at the top. Instead, I wanted to make it easier for people who came to my website who had a specific goal in mind to find content related to them. The people that come to my website are typically people who want to learn how to do video, photography, design, or learn business skills. And I have content for all of those demographics, but sometimes it was a little bit confusing because if you just went to my blog page, you would see articles on all of these topics, and it would be hard to find exactly what you were looking for. So what I did was I created individual pages for each of these topics. It has a little introduction, but then it has a list of our best guides and articles related to this topic, broken down by topic. So video equipment, cinematography and production, audio recording, post-production, the business of video. And now whenever I create a new piece of content related to this topic, I'll add it to this list. And this is just a really easy and fun way for people to consume a lot of my content, because they'll read through this list, they'll click a bunch of links, go through a bunch of articles, instead of going to a general blog and maybe clicking on one of those articles. I've also used a plugin to add my most recent video related to this topic from YouTube, and that's pulling it in based off of tags that I include, or titles that I include, or a playlist actually that I put these videos in on YouTube. Now let's go to photography page. It's going to look very similar. So here I have the Learn Photography little introduction, our photography guides. Here's the recent video, again, broken down. And if you're brand new to photography, this is going to be very helpful to you because it breaks down all of these topics, and there's a lot of content here to consume. It's a good one-stop place for you to learn a lot of this content. So this is just a different way to organize your blog articles. If you don't want to have different pages like this, what might be good is to create an archive. And you can use the tags using WordPress or whatever website creator you're using and create customized lists of articles, or you can just put your top articles here. That's also a good thing that you can put on your Start Here page. I don't have that on my Start Here page, but a lot of people will have a Start Here page that includes sort of the best content that they want people to consume who are getting started with that topic. And this is good if your website caters to really a more specific audience rather than like mine, where I cater to multiple people and multiple types of people. And that's why I've broken it down into really, these are 4 separate Start Here pages if you want to think about it that way. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope these little tips, and especially the tool of Recur Post, help you out in sort of getting more traffic to your older content on your website. Cheers. Hey, Phil here with another case study. In this case study, I want to show an example of shareable content that I created. Actually, I paid someone to create for my brand. And the point of that is to show you that sometimes creating something that will truly be shareable might take a little bit of extra effort, a little bit of money, or just creativity to figure out how to create something that is truly shareable. So what you're looking at is a little image PDF men's posing idea guide that I came up with a couple years ago. And this is something that I couldn't have done by myself. I don't know how to illustrate, but I had the idea. I knew that my audience would enjoy some sort of guide. And this is just the social sort of infographic style image that I put together for specifically Pinterest. And so you can see that these are all individual images that I paid an illustrator to come up with. And then I put it together in a little downloadable book that I give away as a lead magnet in exchange for people's email addresses on my website. But then I also came up with this image that I shared on social media. This sort of tall poster style image works really well on Pinterest, and you'll find that a lot of the best working images and posts on Pinterest are in this sort of size. You can see that this pin itself has had over 248,000 impressions, 459 clicks, and a lot of people sharing this image. You can also see, if we go to another image, that I did a very similar one for groups. I also did one for women, I did one for children, and I did one for couples. And so all of these combined are getting a lot of traffic on Pinterest. So if we go to my Pinterest page, you can see that I'm getting over 175,000 viewers of my pins every month. And to be completely honest, I didn't put that much effort into growing my Pinterest audience, and it was kind of something that I did once and I let it do it itself. I haven't been adding pins to my page since I put in some extra work a couple years ago. My strategy is one that I got from a couple podcasts that I listened to. Basically, what I did was I created boards on my Pinterest page for different topics. I went to my website, I found the best articles or guides related to these topics, and I pinned them to those boards. And so if you go to a specific board, for example, photography tips, you will find all of my pins related to photography. Now, there's not many. I actually even started with pinning other people's content to this board, but then I ended up just putting my own pins. Now you can automatically see the most eye-catching ones out of these pins are these ones right here, the ones that I put extra effort into. Because these other ones, I honestly just pinned the article. I didn't make separate, unique images for Pinterest, which would be better. But I am lazy in that sense, and I just shared it. Yes, they do get some views. They would probably get a lot more views if I spent the time creating some sort of more shareable image or content like this. Now, if we go back and we see all of my pins, let's go back to my profile and see all of my pins. You'll see here are all of them, and combined over probably close to 300,000 impressions from these pins to date so far. And here you can see I was using just some keyword SEO friendly keywords, posing ideas, poses, portrait, photo shoot. These are all keywords that if people search for in Pinterest, let's see, posing ideas, men. Let's see what comes up. Here we have my pin popping up as one of the top pins. And that's what you want. Even on social media, especially a search engine based social media like Pinterest, you want to use all of the SEO best practices that you've learned in this class so you get the most sort of traffic and rank well on Pinterest as well. Now, just to show you what happens, why do I even do this? Because why do I care about people seeing my pins? Well, a lot of people click onto my website. So if they click onto this pin, they'll go to, I have a few different blog articles, but the main one is this posing guide where they can download my article and my PDF that has all of these poses easily accessible for them. Great for new photographers. So it's actually helping me to grow my email list, which then helps turn people into customers. Here we can see in my Google Analytics the traffic that I'm actually getting from these different posing guides. So this is traffic from social media. I know it's coming from Pinterest because that's where these are pinned and getting the most clicks. Earlier in this year, this is stats from the past 6 months or from the beginning of the year. And earlier this year, it was driving a few hundred people per day to my website. Now it's kind of slowed down and it's sending between 10, 20, sometimes on a good day, it pops up to over 25, 30 Here's a day with 113. This is traffic being sent to my website from social media. And again, the only reason why this was successful was because I put extra effort into creating something that I knew was going to be shareable. How did I know it was going to be shareable? Because I went on Pinterest. I searched for posing ideas, and I saw that there were very similar other styles. See this first one right here that pops up? Very similar in the style of what they were actually doing. And I actually see this is, I noticed this while I was creating this lesson. Someone went in, stole my work, and created a pin that is doing really well. They have 3.5 thousand followers. This pin is getting hundreds of views. So I've gone in, I've reported that. But another tip is to make sure you're going back and seeing, if you're not on the platform all the time, make sure you're going back and checking it out, because you never know if someone does try to steal your work. But again, in doing my research, I saw this was interesting. I didn't know how to do this though. I didn't know how to illustrate. So I went on a website, upwork.com, hired someone for a few $100s to illustrate several different poses. And in return, I've created some pins and a post that has increased my email list by more than 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers, has gotten me tens of thousands of people visiting my website, tens of thousands of people visiting my Pinterest boards, and ultimately some of those people are going to turn into customers. So I just wanted to show you a real world example of shareable content. I hope this inspires you. And even if you don't have a budget to pay someone to help you create some sort of shareable content, you can use tools like canva.com or other ones that can really help you easily create infographics and other graphics that are more shareable. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in another case study. Hey, Phil here with another case study. In this one, I just want to show you an example of one of my blog articles that is actually ranking well, that is using a lot of the techniques for on-page optimizations that Ryan has talked about. And for me, it's actually a very simple article. So this is an example that shows you that you don't have to write a long, in-depth article to actually rank well on Google. If it's in particularly a more niche, specific topic, that's when it doesn't need to be a long article, when it doesn't have as much competition. That being said, I'm still getting over 1,000 visits per month from this article. So here is the article. It's actually mostly a YouTube tutorial that I embedded, and I had a little bit of instruction down below for how to export MP4 from After Effects. What that means is how to export a specific type of video file. So this is basically the article at the top, or if we go over to Google, you can see that the keywords I'm using are export MP4 After Effects. And if you search for that, not only does my YouTube video show up, which is great because that, or actually the article shows up, which is one of those highlighted articles that Google has been doing, but also my YouTube video pops up at the top, and our Video School Online article shows up here as well, and the top actual results. So as you can see here, if we click about this result, this is the featured snippet, and if you have certain articles that really do a good job and Google sees people enjoying, they might actually feature your result there, which will get you even more traffic. If we go over to my analytics, these are my top pages, and this is for the past month of results. Actually, no, past week. So I thought it was a month, but past week, over 1,000 visits to this page for export MP4 in After Effects. So that's just the past week. If we go to the past 30 days, let's check that out. Here we see it's still one of my most popular pages, almost 6,000 page views, which is awesome. So if we go to the page, I use WordPress similar to Ryan, and I use the Yoast SEO plugin. You can see that it has good markings from the Yoast plugin. Down below, if we see what I've set as my focus key phrase, and then if you check the SEO analysis, you can see where I'm doing good and where I can improve. So the things that I'm doing good are all these ones that are green down here. So I'm using my key phrase in my title. I'm using the image alt attributes, which include the key phrase or keyword. The key phrase is in a subheading. The key phrase is used multiple times. The length is good. I have internal links. The one area where it's not good is the text length. As I mentioned, this is a very short article, even less than 300 words, which I would definitely say is the minimum you would want. But this was just a quick article that I put together based off of a new YouTube video that I put out. And it ends up being one of my most popular articles. For some reasons, it's not saying that my key phrase is in the first paragraph. It is. I don't know why it's not showing up there. One thing I haven't done is outbound links. So this is links to other pages, and that might be good to include things like that. So just to show you, I'm only using one image, the featured image, but the alt text for that is how to export MP3 from After Effects. And for the title, I actually chose a different text, how to save an MP4 from After Effects. And that subtle difference might help this page show up in other if people are searching for that specific text instead. So anyways, just a quick example of a real world best practice that these things actually work. Now, I chose this article because it's actually working. I have lots of other articles where I'm not putting into practice all of these best practices, and I can really improve myself. But it does definitely correlate when I use all the best practices. Definitely seems to rank better. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in another lesson. Bye.